At a time when civil action and political discourse is focusing on Black Lives Matter to bring justice, healing, and freedom to the global community, our dialogue today is illuminating and timely. What matters is a safe space where we can connect, learn, think freely, and transform the world. The London Political Summit provides us with this transforming space to discuss the ideas that nations should govern themselves in the face of universal challenges, including burning platforms such as globalization, climate change, and of course, COVID-19. The London Political Summit is a growing think tank platform um, set to engage with political, social, and economic leaders. The theme of this pre summit, COVID 19, post COVID 19, and SDG positive, allows us to consider the contemporary COVID 19 political challenges and social economic uncertainty across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID 19 pandemic is the defining global health crisis of our time and the greatest challenge the world has faced since World War II. Since its emergence in Asia last year, the virus has spread to every continent except Antarctica. The pandemic is much more than a health crisis. It is also an unprecedented socio-economic crisis. Disrupting every one of the countries it touches, it has the potential to create devastating social, economic, political, and cultural effects that will leave deep and long lasting scars. If there was any doubt that our world faces common challenges, this pandemic has categorically put that to rest. The crisis has reinforced the interdependence of our world. It has brought to the fore the urgent need for global action to meet people's basic needs, to save our planet, and to build a fairer and resilient world. We all face common global challenges that we must solve through common global solutions. After all, in a crisis like this, we are only as strong as our weakest link. The Sustainable Development Goals, the global blueprint to end poverty, protect our planet, and ensure prosperity, is all about leaving no one behind, the farthest first, and reaching the vulnerable. Sadly, this pandemic hit us at a time when the SDGs were gaining traction and a significant number of countries were making good progress. Eradicating absolute poverty and attaining nearly all the world's environmental targets was almost within reach. Today, as the world is seized with containing the virus and addressing its negative impacts, the reality is that countries are resetting their priorities and reallocating resources to deal with the pandemic. This certainly is the right thing to do because the priority now is to save lives, and we must do so at all costs. Ladies and gentlemen, our fear is that returning to the SDGs may be irrelevant if we do not go back to the drawing board quickly. Member states might pick their own targets and think that the SDGs was a wasted opportunity. In some sense, there is value to that discussion because they know that they have already thought about what they want and what is relevant to them. And our voices today will add to this discussion and highlight the SDG positive. The most striking SDG positive is SDG 17 on partnerships. In the response to COVID 19, partnerships have been forged between international organizations, governments, and the private sector. Harnessing partnerships can mobilize resources to provide health related solutions outlined in SDG 3. An overarching element of the 2030 agenda is the power that stakeholders and individuals can play in the realization of the SDGs. This agenda pushes for locally led responses and community led participation in development. The agenda opens the door for people centered approaches and for civic responsibility, which are crucial in the pandemic and in the recovery. Tackling the many unforeseen issues that arise as pandemics spread can be made easier by applying the lessons from approaches used to achieve the goals and targets in the SDGs. The beauty of the SDGs is that they were all agreed upon by the global community. The negotiation on them was democratic, not politically democratic, but rather an inclusive democracy. The amount of money projected that the world would spend to achieve the SDGs is actually small when compared to global spending. The main vehicles to fund the SDGs were to be improved systems for health and education and partnerships from the private sector and private investment. Above all, the coronavirus pandemic and its effect on all sectors has demonstrated the need for more attention to long term sustainable development. The 2030 Agenda encompasses the complexity, interconnectedness, and interdependence among health, development, peace, and stability through its 17 goals. In achieving both these goals and responding to pandemics, member states need to adopt a holistic approach in which global health is accounted for. Improved health would help reduce poverty and hunger, improve education and gender equality, and strengthen peaceful societies and just institutions, all of which are encompassed in the mutually reinforcing goals of the SDGs. Ladies and gentlemen, let's focus on Malawi for a second. Congratulations to Malawi. Today with us, we have the Minister for Foreign Affairs and the Honorable Deputy Minister for Health of Malawi. May we send through them a congratulatory message to your President, His Excellency Lazarus Chakwera, and the Malawi Congress Party. The challenge for Malawi remains to implement the highly participatory SDG processes in your country for poverty alleviation, the achievement of child and maternal health and education goals. And we note that your government has already put in place healthcare and targeted social assistance programs and an emergency cash transfer program for the people of Malawi. We also note the government's support of small and micro enterprise in order to keep your economy buoyant. We're happy to share with you best practice from the Kenyan National Emergency Response Committee and the work of our National Business Compact Coalition. Our Honorable Member of Parliament, Millie Ojiambo, will do so. And Nigeria, we're delighted that you're present on this call. And Your Excellencies, we want to acknowledge President Muhammadu Buhari for his well-known efforts in fighting corruption, in tackling unemployment and insecurity, in diversifying your economy, and in enhancing climate resilience. The heritage of the women of Nigeria and their business skills are well known globally. And your Minister for Women's Affairs is on the call. Nigeria has been severely hit by the COVID-19, and the government has put in place some measures to contain the virus, including the lockdown, which we know has affected your economy adversely. Fuel prices have been sharply reduced. The government, even in spite of this, has allocated funds to the health sector, and in particular, medical interventions. And the United Kingdom, we have our dear Honorable Paul Bristow on this call. The first confirmed case of COVID-19 was reported on January 31st this year. Today, the pace of infections and deaths associated with COVID-19 has eased from its peak, and we're beginning to see your economy open up. However, we must acknowledge significant tax and spending measures that have been put in place to support households and families during the emergency. We'd like to hear more about this on the call. And Kenya, my country. Kenya has the potential to be one of Africa's success stories from its growing youthful population, its dynamic private sector, its highly skilled workforce. And today, Kenya's experience in handling a new constitution and what we call the Building Bridges Initiative, which was celebrated by the London Political Summit, will be pivotal in Africa. The first confirmed COVID-19 case in Kenya was reported on March 14th of this year. And our government has adopted a number of containment measures, including social distancing and heightened restrictions on most non-essential social gatherings in order to contain the virus. And we'll be sharing with you more about our response to COVID-19, led by our National Emergency Response Committee, coordinated by the Ministry of Health. And to all on the call, the Africa Union has put in place a vaccine initiative, an innovative program led by none other than the President of South Africa, which will benefit African member states. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a rich discussion ahead of us. I welcome all of you to the discussion, and I look forward to hearing from you. I want to welcome you once again to the London Political Summit 2020. I'd like to hand over now to our moderator, my dear friend and sister, Dr. Pauline Long. Thank you very much.